Finally, any showers move away from the southeast, but further showers will arrive into western and northern parts of the country. These will be lighter and fewer compared with the daytime, and there'll be a decent chance of lighter winds and lengthy clear spells, leading to a cool start to Sunday with temperatures in the high single figures in some places. Further wet and breezy conditions arrive into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, Wales and the northwest during Sunday morning. I'd say it's a damp day for many on Sunday, with those outbreaks of rain moving east, but drier and brighter towards the southeast, mostly dry here, and some brighter weather for the far north of Scotland later on. Again, a cool day with a gusty wind, highs of 20 Celsius.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win an incredible £30,000 in cash. And you could be getting that winning call from us to tell you that you're our next Great British Giveaway winner.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh, you shocked me. I never won a penny in my life.
If I was there, I'll buy you a drink.
Get your entry in now for another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a very difficult issue, this, right? As far as we know, the boxer with male chromosomes was born with female genitalia.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite simple. You know, sex in humans is binary and immutable because we are mammals. And there is a minority of people who have disorders of sexual development, and that can affect a person's reproductive organs. But these people are male or female. And yesterday, what we witnessed was basically just glorified male violence against women and girls. The difference is, I mean, that happens every day all over the world. And the difference is that in every other circumstance, we consider beating up women to be wrong, but it was deemed acceptable by those at the IOC because they're claiming that it's sport, but it's not. It's violence and it's wrong.
Peter, Lottie's right, isn't she, that we've been talking a lot recently about violence against women and girls, and regardless of whether this person is intersex or transgender, they have male chromosomes. That means they have a very, very distinct biological advantage that could actually be fatal to a female athlete competing against them.
Well, of course, sport does need to be fair, and we do need to examine this case very thoroughly. There are reports that the boxer, Iman Khalif, was born a biological woman. She is not transgender. She is not non-binary. She is not intersex. She may have elevated levels of testosterone, but that's entirely natural. It's beyond her control. It's the way she was born. And that is why the International Olympic Committee has said that she falls within the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very good morning to you. I'm Ben Leo alongside Tatiana Sanchez, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Yes, it is, and it's great to have your company this morning as well. And as always, we've got an action-packed show for you today, so don't go anywhere.
We have all of the day's top stories today with Lewis Oakley and Esther Stanhope.
We'll be finding out how NASA technology could propel British Paralympians to gold in the coming weeks.
And we'll meet Kate Stewart, a Liverpool entrepreneur who's raising money for her incredible annual school uniform appeal, which helps families who are unable to afford uniform have access to them. Very good morning to you. Hope you're well at home. Breaking tonight, by the way, is this terrible story from Germany where Reports say 3 people have died and 8 injured in a stabbing attack at a festival of diversity. So German newspaper Bild suggests police are looking for an Arab-looking man after the attack in the western city of Solingen. We'll bring you all the latest on that during the show.
Yes, that and so much more as always. And don't forget, as always, we want to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you think on all of today's topics. So send us your views and post your comments as well by visiting gbnews.com/your say.
An action-packed 2 hours to come, but before we do anything else, Sam Francis has all your news headlines.
Ben and Tatiana, thank you very much and good morning to you. Just coming up to 2 minutes past 10. And just bear with me while I make sure that you can definitely hear me. But prosecutors have this morning revealed that all options are being considered into the British super yacht, calling it a potential homicide. The manslaughter investigation has been launched into the incident, which claimed 7 lives, including the British tycoon Mike Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter Hannah. The Bayesian vessel went down near Porticello early on Monday morning. Also among those were Morgan Stanley chairman Jonathan Bloomer, his wife Judy and lawyer Chris Mavillo, along with his wife Neda. Authorities have said today it could now take months to piece together the tragic incident. And apologies there for the sound issues. Well, a major manhunt is continuing, as we heard from Ben, in Germany after a stabbing spree at a festival left 3 dead last night and at least 8 injured. 5 of those wounded are being treated in hospital, now in a life-threatening condition. Police declared a major incident overnight in the western city of Solingen after a man is said to have begun attacking passers-by at random in a market square. More than 40 tactical vehicles are now scouring the streets there. Here, Jermaine Jenas has said that he is ashamed after being sacked by the BBC over inappropriate messages to female colleagues. The 41-year-old, who's been married for 13 years, told the Sun newspaper he's let down his family, friends, colleagues and the women involved. He says he's now seeking help.
This is completely on me. I am 100% in the wrong and I accept full responsibility for that. And it's something that obviously I need to address and look at myself. The family situation is the thing that is at the forefront of my mind. I'm trying to just piece back together. But I've also got to be able to kind of look myself in the mirror and understand where I've gone wrong and understand that this is on me, it's not on anybody else, there's nobody else to blame here.
The government has given the green light to start payments to victims of the contaminated blood scandal. That scheme will compensate more than 30,000 people infected with hepatitis C, hepatitis B or HIV from NHS treatment between the 1970s and 90s. Critics, though, claim there are unfair disparities in compensation, but ministers have said they are proud the legislation has been signed. Full payouts are expected by 2025. The Conservatives are challenging the government to hold a debate on winter fuel payments. Around 10 million pensioners in England and in Wales are set to miss out on up to £300 of support. The Tories have now submitted a formal early day motion so MPs can share the views of their constituents. It comes also after a 10% hike in the energy price cap, meaning bills will now rise by about £150 from October. Homeowners in Scotland have described facing financial ruin after learning their homes are impacted by potentially dangerous concrete. It's understood more than 2,000 homes across Britain could be demolished because of RAG. Officials in Aberdeen have decided to flatten and rebuild more than 500 homes, with the council saying it aims to buy any homes at market value. In the US, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has suspended his independent presidential bid and will instead be backing Donald Trump. However, some of his family say that decision is a betrayal of their values, calling it a sad ending to a sad story. The nephew of the former President JFK joined the Republican nominee on stage at an event last night, with Trump claiming the Democrats want to arrest and silence their political rivals.
His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby, you want to know the truth?
Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in an hour with my microphone on. Now, though, it's back to Ben Leo and the other one.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
He's a cruel so-and-so, isn't he?
I think that joke means he misses me a little bit.
Yeah, he's missing you over at the news bulletin's desk. Good morning to you. Hope you're well. I'm quite glad it's a rainy, grey, drizzly day because it means that you'll be stuck with us for the next 2 hours, hopefully, unless you want to put your wellies on and go outside. No. And welcome back, Tatiana.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you along as well.
Yeah, we had a bit of a wardrobe match-up today. I said to Tatiana, what colour are you wearing? And you said green.
I gave you two options, didn't I?
Yeah.
I texted him last night and I said, it's red or it's green. Bring both because I don't know what I want to wear. I won't decide until the morning.
No, but I think we look like a pair of Mediterranean olives, maybe. And I said to you, I don't like this whole colour coordination thing. It makes me cringe a bit. But actually, looking at us now, we don't look that bad.
We don't, do we?
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Lots coming up on today's show. Of course, this yacht update. We've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. endorsing Donald Trump in America. Yeah. And also a really nice story about this lady from, is it Liverpool, who's set up a charity to...
A Liverpool entrepreneur.
Yes,
to... What's she doing? To help families buy uniforms for their school children.
Yeah. And also, unfortunately, this incident in Germany last night where 3 people have died. So let's turn our attention to Germany now, where reports say, as I said, 3 people have died and 8 injured in a stabbing attack at, believe it or not, a festival of diversity. German newspaper Bild suggests police are looking for an Arab-looking man after the attack in the western city of Solingen.
Those killed in last night's attack were a woman and 2 men, and a massive manhunt is now underway to find the perpetrator, who still has not been caught. And authorities say they're yet to establish a motive. Well, joining us now is the former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, Chris Phillips. Chris, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Chris, what more can you tell us at this stage?
Well, it's yet another incident or terrorist attack at a festival, and we've seen a number just in the past few months where, Taylor Swift was her concert was cancelled because of a terrorism threat there. So once again, festivals are being targeted. This is in Germany. I think the key point here is that this is a kind of city centre festival rather than something being held in a stadium. And of course, that presents all sorts of difficulties for those trying to catch the perpetrator.
And Chris, is this unusual for this area of Germany? Is this something that is quite unusual, or something that's often seen in that area? Do you know?
Do you know, Tatiana, the trouble with terrorism, it's going to pop up right across Europe, and it will do for a generation to come. There's no doubt about that. There's individuals within societies, within Germany, within France, within Austria, within the UK, who see that terrorism is the answer. And I think the key point here is, were the security teams actually doing their job properly? The fact that this guy's got away tends to make me think that maybe they weren't completely prepared for this kind of incident. But as I say, when something like this happens, it's always very difficult to find one person in a group of 50, 60,000.
Chris, it feels like we have, not just in the UK, but across Europe, across the world, incidents like this week on week. What's going on? Are we just hearing more about it now because more attention's focused on it? But has it always been happening? Because it really feels pretty hopeless at the moment, if I'm going to be frank.
Yeah, you're right, Ben. It is a hopeless situation because attacks like this are one person maybe who's got a kitchen knife who decides to go out and kill people. It's just a horrendous part of society. I think from a terrorism perspective, we have got a problem right across Europe. I don't think it's just in the UK. We focus generally on the UK, but actually, France have had far more terrorist attacks than we have over the last 5 years. And it is a situation that we're going to have to deal with. And I'm not sure what the answer is to these lone attacks, because an individual can pick up a knife and can go and do it. The police and security services are doing a great job catching the groups. You know, the attack in Vienna was stopped because there was more than one person and they were communicating, and the security services managed to prevent that from happening. But something like this is very, very difficult to stop.
Chris, thank you very much. And of course, we have heard, as Ben mentioned earlier, that Bild, the German outlet, was saying that it was an Arab man, but we, of course, don't have any confirmation of that. Thank you very much for joining us today. That was former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office, Chris Phillips.
Yeah, Dawn and I on Britain's Newsroom yesterday had to cover poor Elsie Stankam's funeral for one of the little girls killed or murdered at the Southport attacks. It's just heart-wrenching. I've got a friend who works in counter-terror across the UK, and he says they're busting plots like this week in, week out. Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes one gets through the net, and that's what we see in places like Germany.
Yes, indeed. Well, now, to look through the papers for today, we are joined by Esther Stanhope and Lewis Oakley. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, both.
Good morning.
So what have we got up first?
Well, Esther, you said your daughter's in Germany.
Yeah, I know.
Where is she?
She's in Hamburg, and I did speak to her late last night, so I think she's right. I just texted her to make sure, to find out if she's getting any news or like, what's going on in Germany on the ground. But luckily, I just looked at the map. It's quite far.
Yes,
and she definitely wasn't at that festival.
Yeah.
So, phew.
Lewis, do you find it quite ironic that, of course, we don't know the motive yet. The police say they haven't found the suspects, but do you find it potentially ironic that this has happened at a festival of diversity, it's being called?
I don't know about ironic. I think it's just scary and sad. As you say, there are these rise in these kind of attacks. And I think, you know, I was actually watching a few 9/11 documentaries recently, and the kind of how the response has changed in the time since that, and how coordinated attacks and how they catch them. But this move to sort of lone wolf, just anyone with a knife or a car, it's so hard to catch them. They might not if they haven't told anyone or they're not Googling certain things, you might not know that someone is literally about to do that. And so it just begs the question, like, how do we tackle it? Because we can't live like this. As someone that's got children growing up in the world, please, can we get this sorted and stop this kind of thing from happening? But it's so hard to figure out how we would do that.
Esther?
Yeah, I think it's really dangerous as well to say, oh, we're looking for an Arab man. So immediately it becomes kind of possibly racism. It gets people riled up, looking for people. So you remember Jean-Charles de Menendez, the guy that was shot about 15 years ago?
Brazilian chap.
Yeah, in London, because everyone's so worried, like, oh, it's them, and people start pointing fingers and immediately jumping to conclusions, and that is not good generally for society.
Well, in terms of a police report, this guy is on the run and he's just killed 3 people. So I would argue you do need to know what he looks like.
Yeah, but we don't really know what he looks like, do we?
Well, Bild, who is, it's the biggest tabloid in Germany, they say he is an Arab-looking man. I mean, if someone's on the run, say someone was on the run in your local area, I don't know where you live, but say someone had just...
In Shoreditch.
In Shoreditch. Say somebody had just stabbed 3 people, someone's on the run, surely you'd want to know roughly what the guy looks like.
Or probably just their clothes would do. I mean, just a description.
Really? Come on,
Esther. Yeah, I know, but the thing is, it's immediately implying, okay, Arabs, let's all go for the Arabs.
And it is still a tabloid at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's kind of riles people up.
You can't put tabloids down like that. Look at the good work the Sun's been doing.
I'm just saying, I think we have to be a little bit more careful about jumping to conclusions and making it into a sudden, it's racism, and, let's all get riled up by it. I think it's not helpful.
Well, I would agree with you that we need to know what the person looks like, but I would say Arab-looking is not descriptive enough. Height, anything, beard, no beard, that's just not enough, because that could be so many people. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It just makes it sound. It's like already making people angry, or it makes people angry.
Well, I'd probably argue, I've got 2 young kids. If there was a killer knifeman on the run in my area, I'd want to know roughly what the guy looks like. That trumps hurting people's feelings by potentially stoking divisions. In that immediate
No, I totally agree, but Arab-looking man is not descriptive enough.
I think it's also important to remember that this sort of thing was said during the riots, and that was later found out to be wrong. So we have to be really careful you know, at the same time.
But
We
it
do
is
want to know-
terrifying.
Of course.
It's terrifying. These individual people are going and stabbing people. Last year I was in France, in Annecy, and there was a stabbing in a nursery playground.
Oh,
and there were loads of flowers when I arrived there. So I seem to be...
Oh, was that the south of France?
Yeah, south of France.
I remember the footage of that was
Yeah, I was
horrific.
there 3
You were
days
there?
after. No, 3 afterwards,
Wow.
when I saw the flowers and everything, but it was absolutely terrifying. So I don't... There's something about my family going around Europe where all these stabbings are happening.
Oh.
Bit of a coincidence.
No, it is terrifying, isn't it?
OK, what should we move on to? We have either Jermaine Jenas.
Yes,
Do Jermaine
perfect.
Jenas?
Yes.
What's your thoughts, Lewis? Has he? Some people argue that he's kind of been made an example of off the back of the Hugh Edwards situation, and maybe in different times he wouldn't have been axed straight away.
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because I think this shows the changing of attitudes. Because I think once upon a time you would hear something like this, you'd be like, you know, this is terrible, and, you know, how could he have done this? And sort of people would jump to a conclusion. Whereas I think now the reaction is a little bit more, well, I haven't read the text, and, you know, I don't know if someone's being oversensitive or not. I mean, you know, it seems like the people that have seen the text say, look, he's banged to rights on this. But I think it's interesting to see how many people are saying, look, we're reserving judgment on this. But at the same time, balancing that with there have been abuses of power by people in powerful situations. So actually, we do need to take this seriously. It feels like one of those things that people just can't get right. And then also, that kind of side discussion that I'm hearing of like, well, a lot of people meet at work. I mean, he's married, so it doesn't really relate to him. But I think a lot of people saying, well, where is the line now? Are we allowed to send flirty texts to colleagues or not? Or is that inappropriate?
I mean, it's just not worth the... just not worth the risk reward, is it?
Well, most people would now say it's not worth the risk, but, you know, historically, the majority of people have met at work.
Should we take a quick look at Jermaine's apology video he did with The Sun, which was published last night? Look at this.
This is completely on me. I am 100% in the wrong, and I accept full responsibility for that. And it's something that obviously I need to address and look at myself. The family situation is the thing that is at the forefront of my mind. That I'm trying to just piece back together. But I've also got to be able to kind of look myself in the mirror and understand where I've gone wrong, and understand that this is on me. It's not anybody else. There's nobody else to blame here.
So that was his apology.
It's so awkward.
The apology came quite quickly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I suppose he was banged to rights.
Esther?
Yeah, I mean, the trouble with all of this is that is so engineered. It's like stage-managed apology. Did he get an acting coach to go, right, OK, pause there, it's all on me? I mean, that is written by a PR person. That is not written by him. He doesn't mean that. He is probably a bit naughty, been flirty, maybe sending, I don't know, pictures. Does anyone know? Were there pictures? Were there any?
Topless pictures,
Does anyone
maybe,
know?
who knows?
Does anyone know what the content was? Salacious.
Text
it was
messages.
sexy, flirty, salacious, whatever it was, banter, flirty, whatever, OK? Which is kind of private, but then if you are the presenter and you've got these, you know, fan clubs saying, oh, you're so good-looking, or whatever, and then you are going to abuse that because you're loving the attention.
Do you reckon...
It's all stage-managed, and it's all a bit embarrassing and dirty and flirty, and the BBC are not very good at handling this, and I think it's all too... It's all too... Don't you think it's kind of false?
Yeah, I suppose he had no choice. It is kind of contrived. But I want to know, all of you, Tatiana included, is flirty text, is that cheating?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would see that as
sexting?
Sexting.
Is sexting cheating? What do you think, Ben?
Oh, I think it definitely is, yeah. And I think Jermaine is a pretty silly boy because he's not done anything physical with these ladies, and yet all he's done is text, which is cheating, but he's thrown everything away for that. His career, he's betrayed his family, his kids, and it just seems like, what was the point, just for some text?
But what I would say is on flirty text, I think it's definitely cheating if you're instigating, but I think sometimes people might send a bit of a half-flirty message back to kind of put it to bed, rather than making it a, how dare you have sent me this flirty text. So I've definitely received, you know, comments on my pictures on Instagram, and I've, you know...
I bet you
have, what do you like? You know, which I guess is slightly flirty back, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not doing the flirt, I'm just kind of putting this to bed.
I think there's a fine line between banter and taking it with a sense of humour and then fully-blown sexting. At what point is banter, sexting and unfaithful? That's a good question, because I think there is a borderline, isn't there?
And where does he go from here? Because he's effectively lost all his jobs, his sponsorships and branding deals, etc. What
betrayed his family. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, he needs to focus on his family first, and then I think podcast.
Yeah. I mean, he could write a book. You know, there's so many things he could do. I think he probably needs to regroup. And all this thing about, you know, oh, I've got to look at myself, you know, a bit of self-reflection and maybe therapy or whatever. Does he really think that?
I would like to point out that, just as an example that comes out the top of my head, Caroline Flack, if you'll remember, the Love Island presenter, the X Factor presenter, she took her own life. She went through something publicly, an argument with her boyfriend, and she took her own life. So I think, you know, he may be going through... I know he's, you know, may have brought this upon himself, perhaps, one might say. I don't know.
Well, he hasn't killed anyone.
You know, he's going to be feeling... quite stressed and down.
I agree. And I think that in the culture we live in now, which is very cancel culture and you've done wrong and that's it, one of the things that I'm seeing there be more of a discussion on now is a path to retribution. A sort of, you know, you've messed up, but actually being able to come back, and should one mistake cost you everything? And it's just not a realistic way to live if we're going to say, yeah, you make one mistake, your family's gone, your career's gone, and that's it. People should be able to come back, but I think it's about proving that they've learnt their lessons. And I think making amends is quite important to that. So, you know, for him, what can he do to make amends for this publicly?
He needs to take his wife out for dinner, take his kids to Disneyland and say, I'm sorry for being a donut. That's what he needs to do. I do, although it's all his making, I do feel sorry for Jermaine a little bit, because it's, you know, he's been a silly boy, he's paid the price, and, yeah.
And how many other people are doing that?
Oh, probably
is he just an example of what the other footballers and presenters... what's everyone else up to?
OK.
What do you think?
Esther, Lewis.
Who knows?
Thank you. You'll be back with us shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, coming up later in the show, we'll be joined by Kate Stewart, the Liverpool entrepreneur, to hear about her incredible initiative to help kids to have access to free school uniforms. That's for families who can't afford it.
Yes, very nice initiative, actually. And growing up, I'm a twin, so growing up, school
Are you a
uniform
twin?
was very, very difficult.
Are you a twin?
Yeah, I've got an identical twin sister, so you can
What's her
imagine.
name?
Jessica.
Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Should I have said that?
Why?
She's going to get stalked online.
Oh, no, she won't. No, she won't. Hi, Jess.
OK, so plenty more on that, but next we'll be taking off as we'll hear why NASA-inspired technology will help propel British athletes to gold at the Paralympics.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Prince Harry also revealed that he wouldn't bring his wife Meghan Markle back to the UK over safety concerns.
Let's talk to royal correspondent Michael Cole.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Ellie. I mean, they live in California. I'm not sure what the murder rate is there, but that's a more dangerous place than Britain's at any time of the day. And of course, he compromised his own safety when he said in his book, Spare, his autobiography, which was Ghost Britain, that he'd personally killed 25 Taliban when he was serving with the British Army in Afghanistan. Well, that painted a target for life on the back of himself and his family, which was a very unwise thing for him to do. The other thing which struck me, it was that he invoked the name of the late Queen, saying that he'd had several conversations with his grandmother, and she'd been very, very supportive in his battle. He sees himself, and it's the word he's used, as a dragon slayer against the popular press, the tabloid press, and he's continuing with that. Of course, his brother, Prince William, has settled, but also in the programme was Hugh Grant. Now, Hugh Grant also has settled, as indeed did I, when I received an apology from News Group. I believe in a free and unfettered press. Newspapers are having a bad time at the moment, losing circulation, losing advertising. Young people don't read newspapers. And so I felt that the right thing to do was to settle. I didn't want to take punitive action against newspapers.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 10:26, Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live. Some emails coming in, Tatiana. One for you from Stephen. Morning, Stephen. He says, Tatiana is proving to be a very natural presenter. This is not a flirty text, honest.
Ah, why not?
Would you consider that flirty?
No, I think that's very kind.
Yeah.
And I welcome it, so more.
More. Paul, you say the Jermaine Jenas situation will just stop people conversing in the workplace in a friendly way and encourage cancel culture. And Sasha, you say, Ben, what's wrong with women these days? I'm a woman, and if I got a flirty text, I would have a quiet word with the sender and put them in their place. I wouldn't go running to my bosses. And just one more from Sandy. Good morning, Sandy. You say, would you please do me the honour of announcing our 50th wedding anniversary? We can't believe how time has flown. Seems like yesterday, and our love has grown beyond measure. Oh, Sandy, that's very sweet. Sandy Buckingham, you haven't said the name of your husband, though. So, Mr. Buckingham, congratulations on your 50th
Congratulations,
anniversary.
The Buckinghams. Yes, lovely. Well, don't stop sending those lovely messages to us, and let us know what you think about all of the topics of today as well, and all of the stories from the papers that we've been discussing with our panel and guests.
Yes, and did you know several Paralympic GB track and field athletes... Thank you.
I'm trying.
Just trying to move the auto-cue. Aim to go for gold this summer in Paris. So aside from pure talent, a British firm has incorporated, get this, space technology in the materials of running clothes to help athletes perform at their ultimate capacity. I'm not sure if I believe this, but we'll find out in a sec. Trailblazing scientists, engineers and designers at British firm Rion Labs have taken an idea first used in a NASA project, and they've now developed it for over 15 years at Imperial College in London.
Well, joining us now to explain more on that is the head of design at Rion Labs, Olga Kravchenko. And Olga, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Saturday Morning Live. First of all, please can you explain to us a bit more about how and what this incredible technology is?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, our founder, Dr. Dan Plant, spent many years developing these kind of dynamic materials. That means they behave in what's called non-Newtonic way, so they don't follow the rules. Effectively, they can change their behavior depending on kind of stress or stretch you apply to it. So what you get on an athlete level, if you imagine you have a garment, it's supercharged. It's such that the garment changes its support depending on your movement or your activity or the speed at which you run, which is quite revolutionary.
OK, I'm not sure if we've got any pictures of this, have we, team? But basically, if you look at, say, for example, sprinters, on their legs, they've got these sort of embedded stripes, I guess, aren't they, which go all down the thigh. So you're saying that it generates, what, more sort of kinetic energy, is that right?
Not quite. It makes you effectively make more out of your own energy. So we spent years also with the University of Wisconsin studying this phenomena. If you watch on a video somebody run and you see their muscles kind of wobble and shake as they hit the ground, so that's effectively your wasted energy. That prevents you from making the most out of your own spent energy. And yes, you're right. If you look at spot the athletes with the wavy curves and stripes, you'll see that. So that's effectively that super polymer we have in combination with these stripes that are kind of built around the way your muscles moves. So that's how you get the unique performance.
It's very interesting. I was reading the website and you said something. You said the difference between first and fourth place is a fraction of a %.
Yeah, that's the very main difference it makes. So even if you manage to kind of make more of your own energy and improve your performance by 1%, that's the difference between podium and non-podium.
And Olga, what have athletes said to you? What's their feedback been? Are they saying, yes, this really makes a difference to our times and to our performance?
Yes, absolutely. And we're actually very excited. Obviously, we've seen several athletes wear it during the Olympics, and we're hoping to see a few more because that kit's available to them during the Paralympics. But yeah, we constantly gather feedback from both athletes, kind of professional in the Olympics, but also just sports hobbyists and anyone who wants to buy it online. This is the kit we launched with Adidas. So we see lots of feedback about the difference, and particularly feeling more supported, or your muscles more supported as you run and increase your activity.
And do you reckon this technology could come to, say, the Joe Public, where Tatiana or I, you know, have some stripes running down our jeans or something, and it allows us to get that train a little bit quicker?
Absolutely. As I said, the kit's available on Adidas website, and we've launched quite a range with them in training and running, and also there's a sports bra where there's a even more unique benefit to it.
And I was reading also on the website as well, it said 98% of medals won in the swimming pool at the 2008 Olympics and 23 out of 25 world records broken in the pool at those games were done by athletes wearing something called the LZR racer suit, made by an Italian speedo company called Mech-Tex. And it said the materials used in the swimsuit reduced skin friction drag by 1/4. So this can really have a huge effect on these athletes who train so hard each year, who go and compete and want that gold medal. And as you said, it's the difference between 1st and 4th place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously that the speedo technology wasn't done with Rion, but the main key thing that Rion does is deliver sort of that benefit in the sense that you just make more out of your own spent energy, so it doesn't give you a competitive advantage. You just are able to perform better and at your best when you run with it.
Yeah. OK, Olga, fingers crossed for our Paralympians at the Games, and hopefully your magic stripes do their job and we win a good handful of golds. Thank you, Olga, from Rion Labs. Thank you. Interesting. It's kind of like putting... When I was a kid and got my first car, all my mates used to put sort of stripes down the middle, go faster stripes.
Oh, really?
Didn't make a difference, of course, but...
You know what I was wondering as well? Is it kind of like sports back in the day, how the equipment used back then has changed over the years? So I used to play tennis. So tennis rackets...
Love tennis.
Used to be wooden.
Tennis.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Have a game sometime?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay,
and my boy Jude, who's 4, he's very good. I'm hoping... I've got visions of him... this sounds really bizarre. I've had dreams where I'm in the players' box at Wimbledon and Jude falls to his knees after winning his first Wimbledon title, and I'm in the box giving it the old Judy Murray fist.
Oh, yeah, tough sport. But if he's kind of OK with single-person sports, I'm quite competitive, so that's what I liked growing up. I liked it just to be a little bit all on me.
That's what I love about tennis. It's all the top players in the world are pretty much there technically, but it all comes down to your mentality, your psychology. Very psychological game. Oh, we should definitely have a game.
We should. Well, interesting. I thought, you know, back in the day they used to use wooden rackets, and now
yeah, definitely.
Carbon and
of course, goalkeepers in football never used to wear gloves, so there is a case to be made. I'm just not sure. I'm just a bit cynical about just go faster stripes down your leg, but who knows? Right, bit of a gear change next. These are live pictures now of Solingen in Western Germany, the city where police are hunting a knife attacker after 3 people were killed at a festival of diversity last night. We know around 11 people were injured. Police haven't found the attacker yet. They say they're not sure on the motive. But again, we mentioned at the top of the show, another day, another deadly knife attack across Europe.
And it was, of course, at that diversity festival as well. And that attacker is still at large. We'll, of course, bring you all of the latest as we get it. You can see, if you're watching us on television, you can see the area in which it happened, the area being cordoned off. And we'll bring you all the latest on that as we get it. But, of course, 3 people are said to have died and several others injured.
Yeah, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said today that the perpetrator of the attack must be caught quickly and punished to the fullest extent of the law. He said the attack is a terrible event that has shocked me greatly. An attacker has brutally killed several people. I've just spoken to Solingen's mayor. We mourn the victims and stand by their families. The perpetrator must be caught. of course, goes without saying. All right, we'll keep you up to date with that as the story develops. That's live pictures from Solingen in Western Germany. For now, stick with us. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News. Back in a tick.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Staying cool and blustery this weekend, still some rain around, but also some sunshine. It's not going to rain everywhere all the time, but there will be a lot of rain around this morning for the Midlands, East Anglia, the south and southeast. And in fact, for the southeast of England, that rain, several hours of heavy rain, could cause some issues, localised flooding, transport disruption. It does slowly peel away during the early part of the afternoon, followed by bright spells, but also frequent showers into the afternoon. So it's going to feel cool with a gusty breeze, especially towards the northwest of the UK. Unseasonably cool with temperatures in the mid to high teens in many places. The evening brings further showers into the Midlands, the south and southeast of England, heavy downpours. Brighter skies, I think, for Wales and the southwest. Still a few showers, but otherwise mostly fine. And for northern England, a generally fine end to the day with some decent sunshine. Further showers to come for Northern Ireland, as well as western Scotland, even some more prolonged rain at times, accompanied by that gusty wind. But some good shelter there for eastern Scotland, with some late sunshine expected. Clearing skies overnight as finally any showers move away from the southeast, but further showers will arrive into western and northern parts of the country. These will be lighter and fewer compared with the daytime, and there'll be a decent chance of lighter winds and lengthy clear spells, leading to a cool start to Sunday with temperatures in the high single figures in some places. Further wet and breezy conditions arrive into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, Wales and the northwest during Sunday morning. I'd say it's a damp day for many on Sunday, with those outbreaks of rain moving east, but drier and brighter towards the southeast, mostly dry here, and some brighter weather for the far north of Scotland later on. Again, a cool day with a gusty wind, highs of 20 Celsius.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said storm.
You made my argument for me. My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere. Something practical could be done.
I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, welcome back. 10:38, you're with Ben and Tatiana on Saturday Morning Live. What are you giggling at? What's got you?
Well, nothing. We can't really say. It's all an illusion. Everything's perfect on this side.
I think she's laughing at because I've got this is the auto cue scroller, so we use this to move the auto cue.
We don't use an auto
And Tatiana, no, all natural.
Yeah.
All natural.
The magic of telly.
Some emails coming in. Phil, you say we need more of Tatiana presenting. She's a natural. She's great.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil. That's very kind.
That's not your dad, is it?
No.
No, joking. Martin says Tatiana looks like she's going into the jungle in her outfit. Love it. Martin from Bournemouth.
Do you mean I'm a celeb?
I'm a celeb, you must do.
I'll do that.
Would you do it?
If GB News would let me, I'd do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you do it?
No, I did, of course, go to Australia in December to cover Nigel's stint. I'd rather go there to report it.
To report on it, yeah.
Loved Australia.
Yeah. That as well, anything to go to Australia. I want to go to Quokka Island.
Where's that?
It's in Australia.
Okay.
There's an island full of quokkas.
What's a quokka?
Wow.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Shall I Google it and tell you?
Yeah,
if you know at home, gbnews.com/you'll say. Right, let's move on to something more serious. Over to the US presidential race, where overnight a bombshell development has no doubt sent shockwaves through the Democratic campaign. Independent candidate and former Democrat himself, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is the nephew of the late JFK, has officially suspended his own campaign to endorse Donald Trump and the Republicans.
His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby, you want to know the truth?
And before welcoming RFK Jr. to the stage last night, Donald Trump promised, if elected, to release all remaining documents relating to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And to tell us more, we're delighted now to be joined by journalist and author Nelson Aspen. Nelson, good to see you again. How will RFK Jr.'s endorsement of Trump affect the polling?
What a surprise. I'm telling you, this is you miss a minute, you miss a lot. The shock of the announcement comes right off the heels of the week-long festival of joy to welcome Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for president. So that was all instantly eclipsed the moment that Robert F. Kennedy decided to announce in a press conference that he was suspending his campaign and throwing his support behind former President Trump. And it is very important, even though Kennedy never really had a realistic shot at getting the White House, but it could make the difference in some key swing states. It could make the margin of difference just that much tighter and maybe perhaps give President Trump an edge over Vice President Harris. So that remains to be seen. What was most noteworthy was, of course, the Kennedy name is iconic in American politics, and his own family had thrown him under the bus early on to put their support behind Joe Biden. So they have yet to remark on this latest development, but Kennedy himself threw the Democratic Party under the bus. He said the whole process had become a sham, that Kamala had become the nominee without the requisite voting process, and that the party that his father and uncle championed is no longer the party it is today.
Yeah, I think everyone can probably agree with that. I mean, the Democrat Party from back when JFK was president is completely different to what it is today. Crucially, Kennedy's, RFK Jr.'s family overnight came out with this rather blistering statement saying they don't agree with their brother's affiliation and endorsements of Donald Trump, and actually they're backing Kamala Harris and Waltz.
Well, they had to say something, because the whole family got up there as a unit alongside President Biden to offer them their enthusiastic support in spite of their own Kennedy family member. So, they were stuck with egg on their face when this all happened. They were one of the earliest forces behind President Biden's reelection campaign, and of course that didn't happen. And Biden has been conspicuously absent throughout all of this. I guess letting his vice president have her moment to shine, but she has been largely silent, other than what she's reading off the teleprompter as well. But she reads off the teleprompter extremely well, and she was surrounded by movie stars and music stars, and it was a week-long festival of excitement, of balloons, of endorsements, or in the words of Oprah Winfrey, it was joy. Oprah actually sang the word joy, and it was very operatic. Michelle and Barack Obama came and spoke, and Michelle Obama said that she felt that it was a magical moment. So let's see. The last 3.5 years haven't been so magical, but maybe things are about to get, I don't know, all twinkly.
I don't know if we've got time for one more question, but you mentioned Oprah Winfrey there, who's actually taken a back seat when it's come to politics and her views on politics for quite a few years, well, since she came out in support of the Obamas. So do you think her support during this campaign in Chicago, do you think that will have any effect on Kamala's campaign?
I have to say, even now, after all these years, the Oprah effect still holds a lot of power. And maybe you haven't seen Oprah lately, but it seems like we see her almost on a daily basis somewhere here in the United States. And of course, she introduced the world, in effect, to Barack Obama and made him the superstar that he became. And maybe she's hoping to have the same effect on Kamala Harris.
Nelson, thank you so much for your expertise. We look forward to it each and every week. And yeah, how long to go? A month or 2 months and a bit until the big election in the US. Can't wait.
September 10th is the debate. That will be must-see TV.
And Camilla won't have also cue. She won't have the teleprompter to save her. Thanks, Nelson. Right, still to come, we'll be meeting that Liverpool entrepreneur we've been banging on about. Her name's Kate Stewart. She's got a great campaign or plan to help kids and families who can't afford school uniform to get them on an equal playing foot. It's a really inspirational campaign. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
A new 9-storey high mural celebrating Jewish life in Britain's capital has been unveiled in Finchley Road. The mural's artist, Leon Fenster, joins me now. Leon, welcome to GB News. Congratulations on the work. Tell me a little bit about the concept and how you put it together.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of my artworks are essentially storytelling. So trying to pull back the curtain on some specific world that I can reveal, whether that's the world of a particular family, of a community, of an organisation, of a city. And in this case, the challenge was how to depict in a single artwork the entire story of Jews in the city of London. I don't really plan too much. I start somewhere, one thing leads to the next, to the next, to the next, the way we remember the world in our dreams and our memories. And then after a few months, it was ready and we put it up onto the wall.
Give me an idea of the dimensions of this thing. We've talked about it being 7 stories high.
Right.
It also looks like it's pretty broad.
The wall is 14 metres wide and it's to the top of the artwork is 26 metres. Mm-hmm. So definitely my largest yet, I would say.
I didn't know Benjamin Disraeli had a bar mitzvah.
He did not. He made a point of not having one. These artworks, there's this kind of mischievous sense of humour. Oh. So actually, Benjamin Disraeli's father left Bevis Mark Synagogue after an argument and immediately had his children baptised. Yes. Just a couple of months before Benjamin Disraeli's bar mitzvah would have been. So I'm sort of slightly cheekily imagining him finally getting to have the bar mitzvah he never had. He might not be too happy about this, to be honest.
Because after all, Benjamin Disraeli would not have been Prime Minister in that era.
Quite.
Has he been willing to attest to the Church of England?
That's right, absolutely. So that's why there's something slightly cheeky about it. Exactly.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back, 10:48. Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Sandy's got back in touch. Remember the lady who said she was celebrating her 50th wedding anniversary? In the first email, you didn't say the name of your husband. You left him out. But you've got back, Sandy. You said, thanks so much for reading my message out. Sadly, my husband didn't hear it, but his name is Ken. So, Sandy and Ken, congrats on your 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Maybe you can give me some tips. I got married in December.
Maybe you can give me some tips.
Are you married?
No. Anyway, we'll leave that.
We'll leave that. We'll park up. What else have we got on the emails? Paul said, well, it's clear Jermaine Jenas didn't break any laws and just sent a few ridiculous texts, which if any woman had a backbone would have told him to get lost. Well, I guess they did. They told him to get lost and went and complained to their bosses. And what else have we got here? Any clean ones? Any clean ones? These aren't suitable for TV. Paul said, I worked in the entertainment industry for 9 years. It's a hornet's nest where everybody wants to be the queen and king. There would have been dozens of people wanting to have seen Jermaine Jenas gone for a million different reasons. Welcome to Showbiz. Indeed.
Strange one, though, isn't it? We didn't mention this earlier, but he was picked to be the next Gary Lineker, wasn't he?
I know, and that's why I do feel he's
big fall from grace.
He's been a bit of an ice cream, but I just feel sorry for him that for something so stupid, just texting other women, you know, being a bit of a bit of a flirt,
possibly.
And you've lost it all. You've betrayed your family, your kids, you've lost your job, potentially taking over Match of the Day one day.
Big gig.
Big gig, yeah. Anyway.
Move on, shall we?
Right, let's move on. So it may be the August bank holiday this weekend, but that means it'll be back to school for many kids in the coming weeks, and my boy Jude starts school for the first time in a few weeks.
Oh, what year is he in?
He's going to be, well, first time reception.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, I've been trying not to think about it. It moves me to tears. Anyway, Kate Stewart, who's a Liverpool entrepreneur, has just launched her annual school uniform appeal. It's an incredible initiative she set up a few years ago to ensure those who couldn't afford school uniforms for their kids can now access uniform for free. And we're delighted to be joined by Kate now. Good morning, Kate. Thanks for joining us. Listen, what a superb scheme. Do you mind me asking how it all came around? Was there any particular reason you decided to do this and help other families in the way you are?
So I work and was brought up in a deprived area of Liverpool, and I was seeing children going back to school without new school uniforms, and this led to bullying, children not getting the education that they're supposed to. Every child should walk through the doors in September ready to learn, focused on their learning and education, not thinking about what they're wearing or that their pants have got holes in or they haven't got brand new jumpers on. And it actually broke my heart. And I was speaking to families and they were saying, you know, we've got 3 children, we're low-income families, we just cannot afford the school uniforms. And I was like, right, I have to do something, I have to help people. And that's where it all began.
And Kate, you posted something on your social media, this incident with the Asda skirt. Can you tell us a bit about that? Somebody was not allowed to wear a skirt that looked similar to the uniform, but was from Asda to help with the costs.
So the problem that we have, and I've campaigned tirelessly about this, uniforms are put in place so everybody is the same. Children are the same as their peers. No designer wear is allowed, which I agree with. But schools are making their uniforms designer by insisting that their logo must be on the uniform. Now, a uniform from a supermarket can cost £20. And children fall over, they get holes in the pants. You can go to Asda and buy a new pair of pants for £3. When they've got the logo on, you're looking at £20. So what I'm saying is, and I've been talking to government saying, you know, stop the logos. Let's go back to basics. A school uniform consists of grey pants, a white shirt, a red, green, whatever colour cardigan, and make it accessible for families. If the schools want the logos on, then give it to the families to iron on or sew on. That's fine. But stop making uniforms designer with the logos.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Tatiana.
You go.
I was just going to say, I mentioned my boys starting school in September, and the price difference, as you've said, is between the school-made stuff with the logo on and, say, something from Asda, it's just worlds apart. And if luckily my kids' school is doesn't mind, you know, other stuff, but there are so many other schools I've heard of where they enforce getting their logos on it.
Absolutely, and it's just absurd. That's what it is. Everyone the same in school uniforms. 100% agree with the school uniform policy, by the way. I think it's fantastic that children feel the same. And I want children to be focused on their education, walking in happy, ready to learn, not worried about uniforms. And also the families, the mums and dads are sitting at home thinking to themselves, how the heck are we going to afford 3 uniforms?
Okay, sorry to interject. We're fast running out of time, but where can people learn more about what you're doing? What's the website?
Oh, so go onto my Instagram. It's Kate Stewart Life. It's the links in my bio. And please give what you can. The price of a cup of coffee will make a massive difference.
Well done,
thank you. Fantastic initiative. Thank you for
Julia.
joining us. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. We're going to ask about the Notting Hill Carnival. Should it still go ahead? Stick with us. We'll be back in just a tick.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. A wet start in places, but it will improve a little with some blustery showers moving through on quite a brisk westerly breeze, feeling quite cool for the time of year. You can see low pressure sat to the north of us, high pressure to the south trying to edge in at times, but generally a cool westerly flow through the weekend. Rain continuing across the southeast as we move through into the afternoon. Some heavy bursts possible, some local disruption. Brightening up across the rest of the UK, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Some of the showers will be heavy at times, quite frequent across the north and the west of the UK. Quite breezy around the coast, just making it feel quite chilly. Temperatures the mid to high teens for many, perhaps locally 20 in any drier slots, but quite cool for the time of year, particularly under the cloud and rain. Into the evening time, you can see blustery showers pushing in across much of Scotland, frequent in the west, some of these heavy at times, wind gusts around 30 miles an hour. And similar across Northern Ireland into southern parts of Scotland, northwest England too. Across into Wales, the West Country, frequent showers. The Midlands, drier with some sunny spells this evening, but that rain just clearing southeastern parts as we end the day. Blustery showers continuing overnight into Sunday morning, particularly across the north and the west of the UK. Elsewhere, clear spells and staying quite breezy, so it will stop temperatures from dropping too low. They're quite fresh air, so even in towns and cities getting close to single figures to start Sunday morning, but cloud already thickening across parts of Northern Ireland into western Scotland as the next weather system moves in. Outbreaks of rain pushing in here, this spreading into western parts of England and Wales across much of Scotland as we go through the day. The winds picking up, turning quite blustery, some of that rain heavy at times. Further south, drier with some sunny spells, a few showers, and again temperatures in the mid to high teens for most of us. See you again soon.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win an incredible £30,000 in cash. It's extra cash that could really make a difference to your coming year. You could find yourself on that holiday you've always wanted to take, buy that treat that always seemed out of reach, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Time is ticking. Get your entry in now. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christys. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes, she could have said stump.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
I can become something different. Patrick Christys tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Very good morning to you. Hope you're well and welcome back. I'm Ben Leo alongside Tatiana Sanchez, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Yes, bienvenidos a Saturday Morning Live.
Ooh. There we go.
When you can ask me what that means. Welcome back.
What does it mean?
You not heard the Will Smith song?
No.
Bienvenidos a Miami.
You can teach me some Spanish in a sec.
Okay, great. It's great to have your company this morning. We've got an action-packed section for you this hour.
Yeah, all of the day's top stories with Lewis Oakley and the brilliant Esther Stanhope.
And this Bank Holiday Monday, the nation will be celebrating National Dog Day, and we'll be uncovering how many pet owners would rather spend the bank holiday with their pet as their partner.
Oh, not sure about that. Elsewhere, as Jermaine Jenas appears to have now also been dropped by his agent, we'll be following the latest on that big story and getting all your sports lowdown with Aidan McGee. So just repeat what you said there in Spanish.
I said bienvenidos a todos a Saturday Morning Live.
What does that mean? Welcome to Saturday Morning Live.
It does indeed.
Believe it or not, I did GCSE Spanish. I think I got an F, but I remember one line from it. Do you want it?
Go on then.
No me gusta el español porque el profesor es antipático.
And on that note,
Any
don't
ideas?
forget...
Come on.
Yeah.
Is it good or
you
not?
You didn't like your teacher?
Yes.
Oh, he wasn't very nice to you.
Exactly.
I wonder why. And don't forget, we want to hear from you. We'd love to hear all of your thoughts on today's topics. But first, it's the news with Sam.
Good morning. I'll stick with English. I think it's better that way. The time is 11:02 and the top story this morning. A manslaughter investigation has now opened into Monday's super yacht sinking off of the coast of Sicily. It's been revealed the Bayesian landed on its right-hand side, with one prosecutor saying that all the bodies were found in a single cabin, which wasn't theirs, on the left-hand side of the vessel. British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his teenage daughter Hannah were among those who lost their lives. Detectives say they're now looking at all options, including potentially a question of homicide, but they have suggested it could now take months to piece together that tragic incident. A huge search is underway for a knife attacker in Western Germany after a stabbing spree last night that left 3 dead and at least 8 injured. These here, if you're watching on television, are live pictures of the scene where 5 people were wounded and now being treated in hospital in a life-threatening condition. Police have declared a major incident in the area, the western city of Solingen, after a man is said to have begun attacking passers-by at random in that market square. More than 40 tactical vehicles are now scouring the streets of the city. And earlier, police spokesman Alexander Cresta said that the security forces are doing everything possible to catch the attacker.
Aber zu einer Motivationslage.
Witnesses are in shock or can't speak at the moment. They're all being looked after. We have to put everything together like a jigsaw puzzle so that we can now expand our search activities and look for the perpetrator.
Back here at home, Jermaine Jenas has apologised for sending inappropriate messages to 2 female colleagues at the BBC. The former footballer's been sacked as a pundit and presenter by the broadcaster, but maintains he's done nothing illegal. He says he's now seeking help.
This is completely on me. I am 100% in the wrong and I accept full responsibility for that. And it's something that obviously I need to address and look at myself. The family situation is the thing that is at the forefront of my mind. I'm trying to just piece back together. But I've also got to be able to kind of look myself in the mirror and understand where I've gone wrong, and understand that this is on me, it's not on anybody else, there's nobody else to blame here.
And just a quick breaking line to bring you from Bradford that we're hearing this morning. Detectives there have been investigating a fatal house fire in the city and now have made more arrests overnight. That's in connection with the deaths of a mother and her 3 children. They died after their home was reportedly set on fire on purpose, police say, on Wednesday morning. 2 men aged 36 and 45 are now in police custody after being arrested overnight. That's on suspicion of murder. Meanwhile, a 39-year-old man arrested at the scene on Wednesday is currently still critically ill in hospital. Police appealing for any information as they continue that investigation in Bradford. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is supporting calls for a vote in the Commons on scrapping the winter fuel payment. Around 10 million pensioners in England and in Wales will miss out on up to £300 of support. The Conservatives have submitted a formal early day motion so that MPs can share the views of their constituents. And it comes after a 10% hike in the energy price cap, meaning bills will rise by around £150 from October. In the US, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has suspended his independent presidential bid and will instead be backing Donald Trump. However, some of his family say the decision is a betrayal of their values, calling it a sad ending to a sad story. The nephew of former President JFK joined the Republican nominee on a stage at an event last night, with Trump claiming that the Democrats want to arrest and silence their political rivals.
His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby, you want to know the truth?
And finally, a new report is warning that men in England are facing a silent health crisis. Men in deprived areas live 10 years less on average than those in more affluent parts of the country. The local government association wants to see a national strategy launched for men's health, similar to the one that was introduced for women in 2022. And of course, if you need any help or support yourself or know someone who may do themselves, you can of course contact Samaritans anytime on 116 123. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. Time to head back to Tatiana and Ben for hopefully some news in English.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Muchas gracias para las noticias, San Francis.
No, English, Tatiana.
English.
What's your background, by the way? Some viewers have said, what's your sort of heritage?
My mum's Colombian and my dad's Italian.
Oh, wow. What a mix.
You're quite exotic too, aren't you?
My family are half Greek, yeah.
Okay.
Not as exotic as...
Multicultural.
There we go, diverse Britain. That's what we like.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's move on. It may seem like ancient history or maybe a flash in time, but no matter how you look at it, Sir Keir Starmer today celebrates 50 days as Prime Minister.
And what a busy 50 days it's been for the Prime Minister, with renewed pressure this week over his government's decision to scrap the winter fuel payments. And now we're joined by GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley, to tell us a little bit more about this. Olivia, what is going on?
Well, I mean, it has been a tumultuous first 50 days for Keir Starmer. Taking office in the beginning of July, you would have expected, and I'm sure he hoped, that he was going to have a quiet first run, beginning of recess. Of course, it hasn't worked out like that at all. First, we had the riots, which threw the whole country into disarray. And now we have this tension over Rachel Reeves's decision to scrap winter fuel payments for 10 million pensioners. She wants to make it means-tested rather than automatically going to all pensioners. Now, that decision was made a couple of weeks ago. It was quite controversial at the time. It's more controversial now because yesterday Ofgem said that it would be raising the cap on energy prices by about 10%. So the average family will be paying over the hundreds of pounds more each year. What happens when that increase in bills happens at exactly the same time as winter fuel payments is removed? Obviously, the worry is that you end up with pensioners who tend to be at home in the day for much longer than working people, being stuck in really cold houses, which they then can't afford to heat. There is now lots and lots of pressure on Rachel Reeves to reverse that decision, both from the left and the right. You've got the Conservatives calling an early day motion. That's essentially a parliamentary mechanism to force a debate on the issue in Parliament, saying that she needs to scrap it. Then you've got people like John McDonnell, who was Labour's Shadow Chancellor under Jeremy Corbyn, saying exactly the same thing, plus people like Martin Lewis, the financial guru, etc. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Rachel Reeves about this over the next few weeks. I think we might end up in a kind of semi-U-turn position where she says that she will scrap it, but perhaps later on, or maybe she'll look at the threshold, so fewer pensioners have to have this scrapped. But it is a really, really tough issue for the Prime Minister and not what he wants when he has promised economic growth for a start.
But is it fair to pitch this price cap hike as an attack on pensioners? And also, could they have done differently?
It's not really fair to pitch the hike as an attack on pensioners, because obviously, these energy companies are at the mercy of the markets. The war in Ukraine raised oil and gas prices, as we know. Plus, you just have an enormous demand for gas worldwide at the moment. Everyone is trying to transition away from fossil fuels. And in the sort of interim, the easiest way to do that is to transition onto gas. That just raises the price of energy. The problem is that Keir Starmer, rather naively, a couple of years ago, said that it was the Conservatives' fault that gas prices were rising. So he built a bit of a rod for his own back there. He said that he would force energy companies to charge less. That is much, much easier said than done. That said, even if Keir Starmer can't do anything or can't do very much about the rising gas prices, taking away the winter fuel allowance very much is a political decision, and one that is definitely controversial.
Yep, and in this day and age of social media and these clips, these 30-second clips that do the rounds on TikTok and stuff and Twitter and whatever else, the clip from 2022 when Starmer sits there attacking the Tories, saying, I can't believe you're scrapping, the winter fuel payments, we're going to freeze energy bills for pensioners, and so on and so on. And what happens? They do the complete opposite. And unfortunately, that's pretty damning as it comes to the Labour government as it stands at the moment. But Olivia Utley, thank you very much. Appreciate you being with us. We're joined now again by Esther Stanhope and Lewis Oakley. Welcome back to you both.
Hola, hola, and Yasu.
Hola. Oh, we're continuing this, are we? Hola.
I
can't participate. No, not having it. Should we talk about the Notting Hill Carnival? Because I think it officially kicks off today with maybe some sort of lighter brass band stuff or whatever they're doing. But tomorrow and Monday is the big event. I know, Tatiana, you're a big fan of the Carnival, aren't you?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great for the culture. It's great. It's a 3-day event. It's fun. It celebrates the Caribbean culture. It brings people together. Music, good food, good vibes.
Do you feel safe when you go to it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. I asked that because there's an argument now online, Esther, I'll start with you, where last year there were, I think, 10 stabbings. The year before there was 7. The year before that, when it was held in 2019, there was 18. In 2017, it was 12. I think we've got a little graphic of this is straight from the Met Police. So 10 stabbings, 7 stabbings, 18 stabbings, 7, 12. And also the cost of policing the Carnival last year was £11 million. So some are arguing, Esther, if this was, say, a congregation or a meeting of people concerned with, I don't know, migration or what the government might call far-right thugs, if people were getting stabbed en masse year on year, they'd can the event. So why is this carnival still allowed to go ahead?
Look, it's part of the London culture. I'm a Londoner, I've been brought up in West London, and now I live in East London. And you just said, isn't it great to have multicultural people sitting on these sofas?
You did say that, Ben.
Yeah, but look, it's a London tradition. It is worrying. It's not that safe if you don't stay in the main bits of the carnival. But, the floats, the sequins, the jerk chicken, the bands, all of that stuff. Exactly. The vibe of the carnival itself is not really dangerous because it's on the main drag. It's all the little dodgy side streets, and if you're not careful where the crowds build up, and I know that the police work really hard to stop the crowds build by moving the human traffic around the tube stations and stuff. I've been there a few times. I'm not that keen on really big crowds because I'm quite short and I do get a bit scared when it gets a bit too kind of squeezy. You know, when the humans start squeezing each other.
Would you go?
Not with my body, but I would certainly, you know, I would celebrate anyone else dancing on those floats. But I don't think, do you know what? It's a bit like the winter fuel tax. As soon as you say, let's ban it, let's just stop anything fun, let's stop anything good, people don't like things to be stopped. I think there's a psychological thing. What do you think, Lewis?
I think that would be my point. I get what you're saying, and you've got your statistics, very good. But
you've got your stats.
You've got your stats.
Well done, Ben.
But I think, look, we can't be deterred by bad behaviour. Why should something that thousands of people enjoy be ruined for the behaviour of a bad few? Now, that's not saying do nothing. Of course, we need to be policing it better. You know, there are different campaigns you could probably run to try and deter knife crime. You know, there's people more expert in that than me. But we don't cancel anything just because there are very few bad actors.
I am with you on that, Lewis, I have to say. And as much as we can look at the stats of the stabbings and we can say we'd prefer that absolutely not to happen, there are between 2 and 3 million people that attend Carnival and just a very few people that cause trouble. A very small majority, in the words of the Met Police. They put out a press release last night and they said it is just a very small minority of people that cause trouble for everybody else.
There we go. You're still here, Let's ask you. Have you ever been to Carnival?
I actually, when I was born, we lived in Notting Hill till I was about 2, before it was so bougie. And my granny was really involved in the local church, and so I would like dress up in all these glittery outfits and go on the floats and everything. Only till I was about 4.
Very cool.
It was very fun, but obviously I wasn't involved in all of.
But now,
mayhem.
Don't the locals or the Notting Hill residents have to sort of board up their homes and the businesses? Is that what happens? I
don't want to be spreading fake news here. We should probably check this, but I heard that some of them were being paid to get out over the course by the council to get out of their homes because there is such mayhem over the weekend, and it's easier just not to have people there.
I heard people were charging admission to use their toilets.
Yeah, they do. Great idea. Or very expensive Airbnb.
Well, yeah, if you can afford to live in Notting Hill, I mean, I don't think you're too hard up.
People set up shops out of their own windows and stuff, don't they? They serve drinks.
Yeah.
You know, but I wouldn't like to live in Notting Hill this weekend.
Exactly.
I think it's a great opportunity for different cultures to come together and learn about different cultures and come together, have a good time.
Kumbaya, my lord.
No, wrong culture.
Not quite. You obviously don't know about dancehall. I'll teach you another time.
Yeah, you teach me. Right, let's move on swiftly. There's a really interesting story, Esther, in the Daily Telegraph. Jamie Oliver, the celeb chef, says he wants his children to struggle, quote-unquote, despite his 13-year-old son landing a BBC cookery show. So I think he's basically saying, look, despite having all the money in the world and all the opportunities in the world, I still want my kids to kind of go through the hard knocks of life to really build their character. Do you reckon there's some sense in doing that?
Yeah, you know what? Poor Jamie Oliver. You know, he's so in denial, isn't he? I love Jamie Oliver. I love everything he does. I love his cooking. I love his books, OK? But his children are called Poppy, Honey, Daisy Boo, Petal Blossom, Huggy Bear, and is it River Rocket? Have I got them right?
Oh, well done.
OK, there you go. It's like a poem, isn't it? So, Jamie, I'm so sorry about this, but your kids are being brought up in a very different environment to you, with your down-to-earth, lovely pub environment with parents that cook nice pub food in Essex. Your kids are not those kids. They're different kids, and you can't pretend that they're being brought up in a different household environment.
Yeah.
His kids are brought up in a lovely, middle-class, famous, entitled TV show environment, and it's different.
You spoil your
can't do it.
kids, Lewis?
Within reason. I'm not going to get everything they want, but I can't stand this from celebrities where it's sort of like poverty porn. Like they crave just, oh, if only my children were poor. It's like, just don't be so stupid. I can't stand it. You just say, look, my kids are very lucky and I hope that I put the values on them. But this idea of I'm going to make them struggle, there's a mental health implication to that, because if you've grown up in a massive mansion, gone to private school, your dad got your TV show, and then it's like, right, off you go, and then all you can afford is a 2-bed flat somewhere, you're going to feel like I've failed. So actually, here's mental health responsibilities to these kids to sort of make sure that they go on a path that doesn't make them feel like they've completely failed and not lived up to their dad.
And also, he is going to be kind of judgy. Like, is Dad judging us? Is he doesn't approve of us because we're these entitled kids. We don't really know how to build our resilience. He also says something like, what is it he says, and we were talking about it earlier, a cauldron of anxiety and worry. It's OK to have a cauldron of anxiety and worry. It's all part of life. I get you, Jamie, but your kids are just not being brought up in that down-to-earth environment that you crave so much. So don't give them a hard time.
I'll also never forgive Jamie Oliver for that national campaign when I was at school where they got rid of all the vending machines. I know all the parents are like, oh, it's good, but for our generation, he's always the one that got rid of the vending machines.
I love a vending machine. I do think it's important to instil the lessons in your children that you learned growing up. And some of my friends like to say, you know, listen, you must feel. So it's like just making sure that they know kind of the values and the important values in life that might get them through sticky situations. I don't know what you think, Olivia.
Well, yeah, it's a really tricky one, isn't it? Obviously, I don't feel sorry for incredibly rich people, but I do think that children who are born into lots of privilege, the richest people I know tend to be the least happy. If your parents just sort of pay for your lifestyle, you don't need to get a job, then you end up in a bit of a miserable rut. But then, of course, it would be hard to kind of cast your children off if you have the money to give them an amazing life.
Do you remember Anita Roddick, the founder of The Body Shop, the late, great Anita Roddick? Yeah. She famously said, I'm not giving any of my money to my children. And she gave the money to the business. And her kids had nothing. That was quite famous.
I bought her house once, Anita Roddick.
No!
Yeah, she lives down... she was born and lived in Littlehampton in West Sussex.
Yeah, near Brighton.
Some years ago, I ended up buying her house. I've sold it now, but...
What was it like?
Lovely, really nice house.
Did it smell nice?
Smell nice, yeah. It's like dispensers all around the walls. No, but yeah, she was a wonderful woman, Anita Roddick. You know, really talented and great businesswoman.
But valuable life lessons that children can use later on in life, I think, is important.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been thinking about this with school. Should I ever consider sending my kids to private school? I don't know. I think they'd get a better education, but I also worry that they'll miss out on sort of the hard knocks of life and, you know, the rough and tumble of it. So
I don't think I'd do private school. I think you want them to meet people from different walks of life and understand and go to that person's house and realise they have a nicer house than Mommy and Daddy and that person doesn't have a nicer house as Mommy and Daddy. I think that that's important. If you go to private school, everyone's from a certain background and then you're kind of...
Yeah, that's kind of...
I don't know. I think it depends on schools, actually. I think wherever you live, every school is different, every child's different, and I think match the school to the child, whether it's private or not. Everyone's got their own... you know, place where they fit in better, whether they're quirky or intellectual or, you know, there's grammar schools. There's so many different types of schools. It's not about private or non-private.
No, it's such a minefield for parents, and we're going to make mistakes, of course. You're gonna, you know, every parent likes to think you'll learn from your own mistakes and your own parents growing up, but I think inevitably we're not perfect.
I do think you have to have a plan. I wrote down a list of all the things I want my kids to have by the time they're 18. Like different skills, different things I want them to have learned. And I'm like, I'll tick them all off.
Yeah, but Lewis, it's, at the end of the day, right, my daughter's 18, my son's 14. They take on a total life of their own and their plan is different from your plan.
If they live under my roof, they will tick this list off
This is the problem.
Then they can do what they want.
Your plan, you know, you've got good plans, but they will change. Just be flexible.
Olivia, Esther, Lewis, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Still to come, we'll be joined by Showbiz guru Steph Tecci and sport extraordinaire Aidan McGee for your latest Showbiz and sports news.
But up next, how much do you love your dog? Do they come above your partner? And ahead of National Dog Day, we'll be joined by a top vet for her best tips on how to look after your pampered pooches.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Fatima's UK campaign, Children and Young People Matter, because I actually run a campaign and my ministry today is about looking after children in the care system and improving their life outcomes. You know, for me, I had a difficult start to my childhood, and I will never forget it. I mean, I always say I may have left the care system, but the care system hasn't left me. And I instantly understand the importance of giving our young children and young people the opportunity to also, you know, have good life outcomes. So Fatima UK campaign is all about that. And it's a summit next year. Eamon, I hope you're going to come.
No, and we've talked about this before, and certainly, I mean, I believe in what you're doing. I think it's marvellous what you're doing, and that's why, you know, when you think about children, and children are so close to you, and you look at that horror that happened in Southport yesterday, I mean, things like that
exactly.
will really hit home hard.
Well, children are the innocent ones, aren't they, Eamon? And this is what we look at when you think they're the future. We've got to start to put them back at the top. And it's a travesty when we see things like that, you know, Omar, that happen. You know, children are the ones that are impacted. And, you know, it's, for me, you know, it's really important to be able to do the best we can and looking after their future. And so hopefully, you know, I'm going to the Pyrenees in September, Eamon. That's my next challenge, the Bay of Biscay, from France to Spain and back. And hopefully people can go online, fatimascampaign.com, and give generously to help make a difference to these young people's lives. Because, as I say, children are the future.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes. Thank you for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 11:25. Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live. We've got some emails, Tatiana.
Go on then.
I'll do one and you can do one.
Any more about me?
Loads about you.
I'm joking.
I absolutely love you.
Oh, that's very nice. Go on then.
Does it make you feel good?
I'm very appreciative and yeah.
You've got a legion of fans. Anyway, DVH, good morning. You say the best thing you can gift your children is to teach them how to stand on their own 2 feet, no matter how much money you have. I know loads of people who are spoiled and got pretty much everything they wanted from their parents, and they grew up to be useless. Indeed. Frederick, do you want to read that one out?
That one's for you.
That one's for me, because you're a fierce Notting Hill Carnival supporter. Frederick, you say Notting Hill Carnival is law-breaking on a massive scale. The plastic coppers will arrest no one. And Jax, do you want that one?
Jax says, what's the point of having wealthy parents if they don't want you to benefit from their wealth? I'd ask you to be adopted.
Who was the celeb the other day who they gave an interview saying that, I mean, they were, who was it? They were multi-millionaires, and they said, I fly first class and my kids fly an economy each and every time. I can't remember who it was, but they were saying until they earn their own money or learn to appreciate success and hard work, you ain't flying business and you ain't flying first class.
Well, I suppose there's an argument they're still getting a flight from their parents, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. Freebie, free holiday.
Yeah. Well, this Bank Holiday Monday will be celebrating National Dog Day by uncovering how many pet owners would rather spend the bank holiday with their pet over their partner. In fact, new research has uncovered the 5 key personas that make up Generation Pet. That's a new wave of post-pandemic pet owners, with 58% saying they worry about their pet being diagnosed with a serious illness. Well, joining us now to tell us more about how we should be caring for our pampered pooches is Dr. Edwina Gildia. Doctor, good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us on Saturday Morning Live. Tell us exactly what National Dog Day is all about.
Yes, so first of all, good morning, Tatiana and Ben. Thanks for having us. And yeah, I think it's great we're celebrating National Dog Day. The research that you mentioned highlights that, or reaffirms that the UK is a nation of animal lovers. And some of the interesting facts coming through that is that 80% of us think that pet as part of the family. So with that, and as you mentioned, our Generation Pet, as we refer to, these are the new pet owners who have come on board during the pandemic. There's a lot to learn with being a new pet owner. So it's important that we learn about that pet and we reach out to the right people, which is our vet. So interesting facts, as you mentioned, 1/3 of pet owners are preferring to spend time with their pet this weekend over their partner. But again, when we look at what the pet brings, it probably isn't too surprising. 60% of pet owners, and Dogwatch specifically calling them out, say that their dog improves their mental health, and 55% noting that improves their physical health by getting out and about. So I think that's really wonderful news for pet owners, and it's important then we think about how do we support that pet, how do we support it through their health so that we benefit from that quality of life and support them through that process as well.
It's also about showing that love and appreciation for these animals which don't ask anything of us but love, isn't it really? And they do a lot for us. They keep us safe with the emergency services. They help the blind, the deaf, disabled. They're very selfless.
Exactly. They are, that's with pet ownership with dogs. They are the one who will always be happy to see us. They never disagree with us, and they're true companions. And I think recognising what they have done for us through the pandemic, for a lot of people, they were their companion, and we've benefited from that. For households that had families, again, it brought in a new dynamic to that. So they bring a huge amount to our lives and to society, actually. They bring a purpose. That was another point that came through this research that we did at Zoetis UK, is that they bring a purpose to life. And I think that's another thing to call out. It's so important for ourselves, for society to have that purpose. But with that comes responsibility. And that's ensuring that we do support their health, and we know how to do that as well. So you called it many charities that benefit, and not just the charities, but the people associated with those charities as well. So there's also then a responsibility for us to help that animal maintain good health and know how to do that as well. So.
Doctor, I'm going to be a bit of a party pooper and suggest that if you'd rather spend your bank holiday with your dog than your partner, maybe we've got too much of an over-reliance on our pets.
I think it depends on what way you look at it. For some people, it may be a connection that they have. It may be that that bond has been formed before that partnership has formed as well. But I think it's a positive thing that we have, and we should celebrate it. They bring us so much, and it's a positive thing. It's a third of society. It's not everybody. And again, if we say 80% of them see them as part of the family, we may choose a part of our family that we'd prefer to spend time with. So it's not something to favor. I think it's something to celebrate, that we recognise that, and it brings us so much.
So how can people celebrate National Dog Day then?
I guess it's a bank holiday weekend. We've got a 3-day weekend, which is quite nice, and make sure we get out and about. So if we're thinking about our dogs, whether we're going to the park or going to the beach, or maybe kind of a rural environment, that's great. But again, we want to consider what does that entail. If the weather is warm, hopefully it will be nice. Just make sure if you're travelling with your dog, you have got they've got water, that they're well hydrated. If you're travelling in a car, don't leave them in the car on their own naturally. When they're out walking, make sure the pavement, just check the pavements. It's not likely to be too hot, but just make sure that that temperature of that pavement isn't too hot. Touch it with your palm of your hands to make sure. If it's too hot for your hand for 5 seconds, it's too hot for your dog. But I don't think we're expecting those extreme temperatures here, unfortunately. And again, if you're going to maybe the rural environment, to woodlands, etc., make sure your dog is covered for ticks. We don't want them coming back with any creepy crawlies. They're not pleasant, but also they can carry disease. So there's things that we can do, but ensure that we get out and enjoy.
Yeah, watch out for those ticks and Lyme's disease,
exactly.
Dr. Edwina, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Have you got any pets?
No, I have had dogs before, though, and they're lovely.
I think I'm more of a cat person.
I like cats as well. We've got a family pet called Didi.
Didi?
Didi Sanchez.
Oh, nice.
When he gets called out at the vets, it's Senor Didi Sanchez.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
OK, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. It's just after 11:30 and the top story this hour. The sinking of the Bayesian super yacht off Sicily is now being treated as a potential crime. Prosecutors have this morning opened a manslaughter and shipwreck investigation into the deaths of 7 people, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his teenage daughter Hannah. One prosecutor says all of the bodies recovered were found in a single cabin, which wasn't theirs on the left-hand side of the vessel. But they have suggested it could now take months to piece together the incident. Police investigating a house fire in Bradford which killed a mum and her 3 young children now have 3 murder suspects. 2 men aged 36 and 45 were arrested overnight. They're now in police custody, while a 39-year-old man arrested at the scene remains critically ill in hospital. Police are appealing for any information as they continue their investigation. A major manhunt is continuing in Germany after a stabbing spree at a festival left 3 dead and at least 8 injured. 5 of those wounded are being treated in hospital in a life-threatening condition after a man is said to have begun attacking passers-by at random. The city's mayor has said he is heartbroken and praying for those who are now fighting for their lives. Sacked BBC presenter Jermaine Jenas has apologised for sending inappropriate messages to 2 women at the corporation. The married ex-footballer says while nothing physical happened, he has let his family, his friends and colleagues down. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is backing proposals for a Commons vote on the winter fuel payment. The government's facing a backlash over scrapping the financial support for around 10 million pensioners in England and Wales. It comes after a 10% hike in the energy price cap, meaning bills will rise by around £150 from October. Homeowners in Scotland say they are living a nightmare after learning their homes are going to be demolished because of crumbling concrete. The vast majority of affected properties are thought to be in Scotland, 500 of which are will be rebuilt in Aberdeen at a cost of £150 million. The council says it aims to buy private homes at market value and council tenants will be rehomed. And 2 stages at Leeds Festival will remain closed for the rest of the weekend after being damaged by Storm Lillian. Some fans are now calling for refunds after several live acts were cancelled. Passengers across the northwest are also being encouraged to check their trains while Network Rail's response teams remove fallen trees from the tracks. Meanwhile, the Met Office has also issued a yellow weather warning in place until around 1 o'clock this afternoon in London, Kent and Essex. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. A wet start in places, but it will improve a little with some blustery showers moving through on quite a brisk westerly breeze, feeling quite cool for the time of year. You can see low pressure sat to the north of us, high pressure to the south trying to edge in at times, but generally a cool westerly flow through the weekend. Rain continuing across the southeast as we move through into the afternoon. Some heavy bursts possible, some local disruption. Brightening up across the rest of the UK, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Some of the showers will be heavy at times, quite frequent across the north and the west of the UK. Quite breezy around the coast, just making it feel quite chilly. Temperatures the mid to high teens for many, perhaps locally 20 in any drier slots, but quite cool for the time of year, particularly under the cloud and rain. Into the evening time, you can see blustery showers pushing in across much of Scotland, frequent in the west, some of these heavy at times, wind gusts around 30 miles an hour, and similar across Northern Ireland into southern parts of Scotland, northwest England too. Across into Wales, the West Country, frequent showers, the Midlands drier with some sunny spells this evening, but that rain just clearing southeastern parts as we end the day. Blustery showers continuing overnight into Sunday morning, particularly across the north and the west of the UK. Elsewhere, clear spells and staying quite breezy, so it will stop temperatures from dropping too low. They're quite fresh air, so even in towns and cities getting close to single figures. to start Sunday morning, but cloud already thickening across parts of Northern Ireland into western Scotland as the next weather system moves in. Outbreaks of rain pushing in here, this spreading into western parts of England and Wales across much of Scotland as we go through the day. The wind's picking up, turning quite blustery, some of that rain heavy at times. Further south, drier with some sunny spells, a few showers, and again, temperatures in the mid to high teens for most of us. See you again soon.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 11:40 nearly. You're with Ben and Tatiana on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. And Tatiana, previously in the show, you mentioned about one day maybe going to the I'm a Celeb jungle, and you mentioned...
Did I?
You did.
I think a viewer said, I look like I'm going into the jungle.
All right, anyway, whether you did or not, you mentioned a quacker. What's a quacker?
A quacker?
Quacker.
A quacker. Actually, what is a quacker?
It's here, look. This is a
I know
quacker.
what it is, but how would you... What's the name of... OK, this... It's very similar to something else, though.
A rat?
No.
This is an Australian animal. It's like a wombat, apparently.
Yes.
Told me. There it is.
Oh, look.
It was kind of
See,
cute.
this is why I love them. They have a permanent smile.
Oh.
And the reason I came across a quacker when I saw Roger Federer, you know, loving
Yeah.
tennis, and he took a selfie with a quacker years ago. And ever since then, I've always wanted to go to Quacker Island. There's an island of them.
So it's called Quacker Island?
Yeah, unless
Amazing.
I'm completely wrong, you can let me know.
Well, look, you learn something
home.
new every day. I didn't know what on earth quackers were, but there we go. They're cute, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Smiley little things.
Lovely.
Anyway, should we move on to some showbiz news? We have showbiz juggernaut, let's call her.
Ooh, I'm loving
with us.
that. Juggernaut.
Juggernaut. What's going on, Steph, in your bag of showbiz tricks?
Can we talk about Lily Allen? She has ruffled the feathers of animal rights charity PETA because they've attacked her because in her podcast, Miss Me, this week, she made a confession that during the pandemic, she adopted a dog from a shelter in New York. That dog, called Mary, had its own Instagram, only lasted 2 weeks in Lily Allen's household. Why? Because she chewed her passport and her kids' passports. This left Lily quite angry because she says the father of her children live in the UK, so it cost her a lot of money to get those passports replaced. So she sent the dog back to the shelter.
Oh, my
and it was only lasted 2 weeks in her home. Now she's saying she's thinking of adopting another dog. So it's forced PETA now to come out and said, actually, what you did was quite cruel. We always hear this all the time. Dogs are not just for Christmas, especially during the pandemic. A lot of people were getting dogs to try and keep them entertained, but they have feelings as well. If you're going to get a dog, you have to understand it's a responsibility. Lily Allen, she's worth over £3 million. If it was that bad, get a dog sitter. There's no need to get this dog, introduce it to your home and then take it back to the shelter. So PETA have come out, they said, actually, you need to get an accessory dog because dogs are not accessories. And they've said, actually, what you've done is quite cruel, it's unspeakable, and you do not deserve to have another dog again.
I think she said it was quite expensive for her to get these documents redone, though, didn't she?
Yeah, and that's what the PETA have said. They said you can always replace a passport and visas, but this Mary's now been sent back to a shelter. It might have taken her months to get a new home, and the trauma that dogs do go through is nothing nothing that should be taken in a light manner as well. But
that's a really shocking story. I think it's awful.
Yeah, I think it is.
You're worth a couple of million. How much does it cost to replace a passport?
I see.
Maybe 150 quid at tops.
And that's it. And I see all these wealthy people, they have dog sitters, dog nannies. So if it was too hard for her, I think if she gave it a couple more weeks, the dog could have been trained and known not to chew passports or anything in the house. But so she's not in the good books. Do we think Lily should get another dog?
Not if she's going to treat dogs like that.
Yeah.
You know, why don't you spend the money training your dog not to eat your stuff?
Well,
I don't think that should happen again, but I think she should be given a second chance.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was during COVID, lot of pressure, stress during that time.
You're too kind.
You are too kind. I'm like, no, Lily, stay away from dogs.
Oh, she can afford it as well. Hasn't she been flogging her feet pictures on OnlyFans?
She has been on OnlyFans, but it might be desperate times for her to go to OnlyFans, but who knows?
Speaking of desperate times...
Yeah.
It's the end of a Hollywood couple.
Oh, again, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, they've called it quits for a second time. They first split in 2004, but this week, J-Lo made it official and she filed documents for their divorce. She says it's something that they can't repair. I think for months now in the media, we've been speculating about them being broken up. As you can tell, they have two different kinds of lifestyles. J-Lo's very much a showbiz girl. She loves the celebrity lifestyle. She loves being out there. Ben Affleck is more private. He's been battling, trying to be a recovering alcoholic. So I think they just were on two different pages in the sense of their relationship, but they didn't sign a prenup, guys. So now the big question is what happens to all their assets? They worked on a film which is called The Unstoppable, which is due to come out in September. So this is very much a couple who are still tied together. And in most Hollywood couples, when it comes to sorting out who gets what, that's when it turns quite nasty. They've both been maintained their silence on the split, but I'm sure J-Lo will come out with an interview eventually about it.
He's just looked so miserable in recent months. There's been video clips doing the round online where they're getting into a car together. He opens the door for her.
Yeah.
She gets in. He's like, slams the door.
Yeah.
He just looks thoroughly miserable.
I just think, you know, it begs that question when people break up. You think to yourself, there's a reason why you broke up in the first place. Sometimes people get back together and works out, but I think it's different when you're in the limelight and you've got someone like J-Lo, who I like to call a diva in a good way, who wants all the attention, to someone, Ben Affleck, who's private. So I think they must have known that it was going to be quite difficult for them.
Who's worth more, do you know?
J-Lo, she's worth $400 million. Whoa. Ben Affleck's $150 million, so he might be quids in.
So, yeah, so she won't necessarily be going for any of his assets.
Well, basically, what she filed in the documents as well, she's actually filed that he doesn't get no spousal support.
Right.
And she's also done the same, so hopefully he could adhere to that. But to be honest, I can't see Ben Affleck wanting more attention about the split than is already out there at the moment.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
Splitsville.
They gave it another go.
They did. They tried.
Work.
Only lasted 2 years. They had the big wedding and all that stuff. And again, I just don't think Ben wanted that. And I think J-Lo loves it. This is her fourth marriage that's gone down the pan.
Yeah,
so
I'd probably give up after the first one.
No, she might be fifth time lucky.
Well, she had some beautiful children with Mark.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, twins, so who knows?
Yeah,
I'm sure she'll get a toy boy now. Keep him under manners.
What else have you got?
We've got
Taylor Swift. So this week, Taylor Swift said goodbye to her European part of the Eras tour, and it was amazing. I saw her at Wembley Stadium. But also, she timed it quite well because she opened up about that foiled Vienna terror plot attack that was planned against her shows in Austria. And she said that it's kind of filled her with a new sense of terror. You know, can you imagine for Taylor Swift, this is your own concert and terrorists were planning to attack it? She says that she done the right thing where she didn't want to talk about it because she didn't want to give it much publicity than it served. The main thing she wanted was to make sure that these shows in London were safe. And she said if she had spoken about it, it just would have brought too much attention. Obviously, she had to deal with the Southport stabbings as well, which was at a Taylor Swift-inspired dance class. So there has been speculation that she actually went to go see the families privately again to kind of send her condolences. So I think she's done the right thing. And I think now we're entering this new frontier of concerts now because you can see that they are under threat from these apparent terrorist plots. So I think now, going forward, a lot of artists are going to be thinking about security. This week we saw in Coldplay in Vienna, they had snipers at the top of their arena. So I think a lot of artists now are going to be thinking about security.
And of course, years ago, we also had Ariana Grande's concert, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That bombing in Manchester.
Yeah, in Manchester. So it's just horrible. It's a horrible sense of times where you think fans are just going out to have a good time and knowing this is at the back of people's heads. But for Taylor Swift, she's the actual performer, so that brings a new sense of fear of terror, as she said.
All right, Steph, thank you so much.
No worries.
And your pictures from the Taylor Swift concert
Oh,
on
my gosh,
Instagram.
I was a full-on Swiftie.
Oh, you looked amazing.
Thank you guys.
Steph, thank you. And
No
still
worries.
to come, we'll be joined in the studio by our very own Aidan McGee with all of the latest sports news, so stay here.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
Bad news for Liberal mothers who want to score virtue points by transitioning their kids, Lewis.
You know, this
Tell us what it is.
Is a California dad is granted full custody of 4-year-old son after boy's mom tried to raise the child non-binary.
It's almost like cult-like behaviour. You've got the mother transitioning and then the transitioning the son as well. It's interesting that, you know, it's almost like a religion. You get, you know, if you're a Christian, your kids are probably going to be Christian. If you're, you know, Hindu, your kids are probably going to be Hindu. And if you're transgender, your kids are probably going to be transgender.
There's absolutely a causation there. We see plenty of times in videos. This is exactly it. And also we see the children of celebrities and people in particularly sort of liberal environments. It doesn't happen in some village in Indonesia or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there's no such thing as a trans child. There's no such thing as non-binary. What there is are people with mental health issues and parents who want a virtual signal and also want to brainwash their children. This is an egregious example of that, where she was basically taking him to Disneyland, but he couldn't get on a ride unless he wore princess shoes. I mean, really evil, horrible stuff. You know, forced to wear a dress on his birthday. Just really nasty stuff. Now, here's the thing. You talk about the court going to him. No, that's not what happened. He took 800 pages of documentary evidence. He took 8 hours of police body camera footage showing this mental behaviour from the mother. And guess what? The courts ruled that the mum got him. They ruled against him. The only reason that he got custody of his child is because, thank God, a child protective services officer randomly got involved, looked into it themselves, and that's how he eventually got custody of the child. So the courts in America are utterly captured.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Ben and Tatiana with you on Saturday Morning Live, and some big breaking news. We've just discovered, haven't we, that we were born
in the same hospital.
The same hospital. I'm a year older, or 2 years older than you. But sorry, caught on you.
Joint at the hip now.
But yeah, that's amazing. We're born in the same hospital.
Crazy, isn't it? Can we say where?
In Sussex.
In Sussex.
Yeah, crazy. There we go. Right, let's move on. BBC presenter Jermaine Jenas has been sacked, of course, by the corporation following complaints about his workplace conduct. The former England footballer, who regularly hosts the One show on BBC One and, of course, Match of the Day, has said he's seeking legal advice about the situation. Sports broadcaster Aidan McGee joins us now with the latest. Aidan, good morning.
Good morning to you both. Yeah, look, I mean, it started on Thursday, didn't it? He was actually on air at Talk Sport. I believe he knew about it before
that, well, they kind of presented it as if it happened on air, you know, and then they went through this interview process with him. It actually felt like a police interview where they were quizzed him about the situation, and he wasn't able to say anything because his lawyer told him to say no. And he even asked at one point he said, look, are we actually on air here? Because if we are, I need to turn it off. It was really, really uncomfortable. It's almost like they seized the moment to think, right, we've got someone in the building, could be an exclusive, let's do it. I'd have probably done the same if I'm perfectly honest with you. However, fast forward it on 48 hours, it looks as if it's all done for him now. I mean, I don't think the BBC or anyone else can be seen to be, especially not mainline broadcasting, can be seen to be endorsing or in any way condoning that kind of behaviour towards women in the workplace. But I do believe that someone in the last day and a half has got hold of him, Tatiana, and maybe convinced him that if he goes through the right steps, there might be a way back, because I don't really understand why he would seek to mitigate the situation by speaking to The Sun. First of all, he hasn't sold the story there. I wouldn't have thought. He's just placed it there. His agency has ditched him, but someone will obviously have intervened over that period in between and said, look, you know, you can redeem this, a crisis management kind of agent, and steadily reintegrate him.
So crisis management, then?
I would say, yeah, it's known in football. I mean, John Terry had it. There was a guy called Phil Hall, who used to be editor of the News of the World. He specialised in that kind of thing. Don't think he's involved in this specifically. But let's just hear, shall we, the interview that he gave to The Sun, where he's quite contrite. We can say that.
This is completely on me. I am 100% in the wrong, and I accept full responsibility for that.
So that's Jermaine Jenas talking overnight, I think it was, from The Sun. I don't see a way back, perfectly, to be perfectly honest. There are plenty of people who could do that job. I knew him. I actually gave him one of his first jobs in TV at Sky, maybe 12 years ago, and he launched the Aquinas Foundation. We went around a few schools, the Bulwell Academy in Nottingham, for example. Great fella. And
what was he like then?
Oh, he was great. He was great. I didn't. If you'd said to me, though, Tatiana, he was going to have this stellar career in broadcasting, not just in sport, he'd transcend sport, I'd have said it was extremely unlikely.
Wow.
Aidan, thank you so much. I do feel sorry for Jermaine Jenas, but he's been a silly boy, hasn't he? And he's paying the price for it, so there we go. Look, thank you so much at home for joining us today. Really appreciate you being with us. All your emails, all your comments. You had fun, Tatiana?
Yeah, and thank you for all the kind comments as well. It's very nice.
Up next is Dawn Neeson, and yeah, we'll see you at the same time next week. Have a good weekend.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. A wet start in places, but it will improve a little with some blustery showers moving through on quite a brisk westerly breeze, feeling quite cool for the time of year. You can see low